I want my community to make fun of them. I'm going to lie through omission and intentionally frame them.
Hello, friend. I gathered us here to talk about the Ultimates. Now, yes, I am to blame. If you came here because of the clickbait title and the thumbnail, yes, I am to blame. We will get to that all pretty soon. But the main discussion point of today is the Ultimate system. So this issue, this concern in the community has pretty much been put to rest at this point, right? All things have been said, all parties have been interacting with each other, and the public is somewhat allowed to make their own conclusions on how they feel about things. Oftentimes just being the conclusion of whatever my favorite streamer thinks, I think that too. But to an outside player or an outside person who does not play the game, looking at it from outside in, when people say, hey, you get 3 more ultimates, for the most part, your head probably just goes to, okay, you get 3 times the damage. You get 3 more damaging skills where you only used to have 1. Not the case. It's way more complicated than that. Ultimate change is looked so less at what actually is going on and more at the fact that it's just ultimates, right? People mention all the time, ultimate this, ultimate that, but they don't explain any ultimates. So that's what we're doing here today, right? When you get out of this video, you should have a decent level of understanding on exactly how ultimates function in this game. I'm hoping to shine some light and enlighten a few people, especially those who are not player, on exactly how ultimates impact gameplay and flow in several different ways outside of just damage. Let's get into it. If what you wanted was a good amount of knowledge so that you can argue on this situation without looking like a dumbass, then by all means stick around for the video. By the end of it, you will know a lot about this ultimate system. And if you want to go forth and say the ultimate system did not impact Zenless Zone Zero, you will now have a bit more knowledge to know what you're talking about than if you were to just go out there without watching my video. Now, stick around. I'm going to teach you about ultimates, and then you can go talk your shit. Of course, Saint Tone Toss will come up. There's so many points in terms of getting this idea across. It's like teaching a fucking class. So what should be our first point? Yes. In preparation of Saint Tone Toss, I should have did this like literally minute 1, but let's mention Miyabi. One of the major contenders in this issue. Good old Hoshimi Miyabi. A lot of things come into the conversation when she's brought up, right? Oh, she fucking destroys all the content. She does 3 times as much damage as everyone else. Not entirely true, but hey.
3 times the damage as everybody else.
You know, peddle your nonsense. By all means, I'm not here to stop you. And I don't know. I think she exists. That's one of the major arguments. She exists in the game, therefore she's a problem. That's as simple as it gets. Sure, buddy. But let's truly examine Miyabi, or like mention Miyabi for a second. What did she do to the game?
This would be like a better diagram. I think I finally figured in my head what it would look like. Here's the HP line, the HP of all the bosses, right? And the yellow line's gonna represent like power levels of different characters, right? At the beginning of the game, their power is like whatever. Anyone can fucking clear. Anyone can fucking clear, right? Maybe at the bottom here you have fucking Billy. Everyone could fucking clear. The HP requirement was so low, it was fucking easy. And now the problem is this, right? The new HP bar is like here. The new HP bar is here, but like Miyabi's like up here. This is Miyabi. Miyabi's fucking up here, right? So she raises the ceiling, but the HP bar is still low enough to where it's whatever.
She increased the power ceiling. She is indeed a factor into all of this HP discussion, right? She definitely is. Is she a major factor compared to ultimates, right? Because a good healthy debate that I've had in recent discussions was when I went into Ethan's chat. Sorry, Ethan, if I enraged you in any way. I was just trying to get to the, heart of the issue. But a good debate I had with him is whether or not she is the primary cause, right? Whether or not she is responsible for a majority of what we're dealing with today in terms of HP increase. It's not the case. You could come to that idea if you don't play the game or don't understand the ultimate system, the changes and the things that it added. Miyabi just looks like this crazy scenario, and if somebody tries to frame it with a pretty picture.
You want to know what this is like a 1-to-1 to in another Hoyoverse game? I'll show you. It's the same photo.
To make it look like Acheron to Honkai Star Rail as Miyabi is to ZZZ, then yeah, without any further knowledge on what I'm about to explain post Miyabi, you could come to that conclusion. This is why you will always hear clap back from the ZZZ fan base. Looking at Miyabi is not wrong. Focusing on Miyabi is. If you're just like, this character's existence in the game causes an issue, right? Just her being there. That's where you get fucked up. Because how can a character simply being strong break the game other than to, oh, this character feels easier and now everyone else in comparison feels harder. Not everyone else feels hard or harder. Hard mode's been turned on for everyone. They just feel harder than Miyabi. That's about it, right? That's it. Why is that the case right now? Why is it that she's not setting a damage bar, but rather she's just setting an easy mode to hard mode sense? Well, we're about to move on from Miyabi, and hopefully this will, like, if Miyabi on your fucking wheel, right now is taking up something like this, right? If she's taking up something like this and this is Miyabi, if this is Miyabi and this is the ultimates to you in terms of the ultimate system, yeah, you're a little off. If it's even like, if Miyabi's even larger on that circle, you're truly screwed. I will showcase why this is wrong. But let's move on so that you can get some light on it. Miyabi super strong, super OP, super strong. She do things. She's strong. She do things. Let's get into the actual meat and potatoes. Or for our stupid Captain Cabinets fans, beans and toast. What should we discuss first? Let's discuss the HP. It's crazy to me that charts are used so much in this conversation. And nobody knows how to read a chart. But we'll examine it. Charts. Oh. Unfortunately, this chart is not full screen exactly. Maybe I should have tried and find. Look, I don't have my phone on me because I can't use a phone and easy access to bring up charts, okay? I have to use this goddamn PlayStation and a TV screen. So roll with me. This is HP Inflation and Zenless on Zero Shiyu difference. I'm sure you guys have seen this chart several times at this point, right? It has been used in replace of St. Tonta's chart, which we would definitely get into discussing, because it showcases all of Shiyu defense and it is coming from a very much ZZZ source. So you could probably bet that they're like decently accurate because nobody really cares in ZZZ about the facts of the situation. We're not going to misconstrue information in order to get our point across.
I'm going to lie through omission and intentionally frame them.
We'll get there. Now, this chart. Let's examine this chart. We will disregard St. Tonta's chart for now. I will bring it up in just a moment. Guys. It blows my mind. Does nobody know how to read charts in 2025? It blows my mind exactly what this chart shows. Now, if you are a non-ZZZ player, this does not deliver information easily to you. We all went to school. Sometimes charts are hard to read, but they have a bunch of info. But you can then dumb them down to the level of even a child that's able to understand any and every piece of information delivered. Right now, I want you to point to 1.3. Do you not know? If you're not a ZZZ player, do you not remember the dates? I want you to point to 1.3, then point to 1.4. Now point to the first point of 1.5. Now, some ZZZ players probably could have, but a non-ZZZ player is probably like, what are you trying to say? Do we remember arguments, right? What was one of the major arguments? That, 1.4 would have been the HP increase to cover for ultimates.
And there are so many people talking about how,
Oh, he didn't mention how ZZZ and 1.4, they adjusted the ultimates so that all 3 party members could use them at the same time.
why do you idiots think I started at 1.4? To all those people that made that commentary and thought that it was going to be a huge gotcha, why do you think I started the chart at version 1.4? Would have had a point talking about the ultimates being adjusted to 3 if I used 1.0 Shiyu defense, but instead I started at 1.4 to account for that.
In which it increased HP to account for the ultimate system. Therefore, anything after there is more than likely contributed to Miyabi. This is part of Saints and his crew's argument to a T.
The point that the HP inflation is a direct result to the decibel changes. This response would only justify the HP inflation from version 1.3 to 1.4. You know, the relevant patch that the decibel changes were made in.
That 1.4 HP increase. 1.4's HP increase was to account for the ultimate change. Let's examine. Guys, 1.3 was pre-December. 1.4 came out in December 17th to 18th, depending on where you were. And 1.3 was obviously before December 17th to 18th, mid-December. These lines on this graph separate things by month. So this is the first of every month. December is right here. This is January 1st. Miyabi's out, people. January 1st. This is a Deadly Assault release. Miyabi's out, people. Mid-December, Miyabi's out. At the tip of January, Miyabi's still out. Every time there's a dot and then a jaggedness, that's when a Shiyu defense drops. We can pinpoint exactly where the Shiyu defense drops are on this map. We go forward a little bit more. Mid-January, bam. We're in mid-January. This is getting into the point of almost 1.5. This is the entirety of 1.4 right here, people. Are you starting to see it? This is December. This is December right here, December 1st. This is technically 1.3. All these three dots back here, from mid-December onward, is the end of 1.4. At the tip of December 1st, which a Shiyu dropped on, that's 1.3. That means you go back one more click, that's still probably 1.3. Look at the HP. I can't believe this. This is where St. Tontar's fucked up. This is where you realize people's intentions.
Why do you think I started the chart at version 1.4?
In full view, right? When looked at the graph from 1.3 all the way to the fucking end, mid-January, how much did the HP increase? That's right, buddy boys, it fucking didn't at all. I was surprised. I will get into this soon. Developers were kind of stupid, but it didn't even increase. Saint really is a master of deception. This guy fooled the shit out of y'all. I thought that Saint was at least trying in his own way. To be fair, when he pulled a graph that only featured 1.4 and then the jump that he showcases in his graphs is right here, 1.5. This little jump right here, right at the tip of February, right? That's still 1.5, right? But that's where the HP came in. That's where his graph showcases a jump. What was Saint's argument back in the day, all day, every day? Is that he used a graph that didn't show 1.3. This way, the big jump from 1.3 and 1.4 wasn't used incorrectly because that would probably have to relate to the ultimate. No, he didn't show 1.3 because it was showcased that from 1.3 to 1.4, there was no HP increase. And these niggas dropped 3 ultimates. And buddy boys, we're about to get into exactly what those ultimates do. So, yeah, Saint lied to you guys. This is the perception I got from Saint. I was at least honorable enough to take the graph that he came up with at face value. I figured that HP was at a certain point and they at least made some type of jump from 1.3 to 1.4, right? I figured that that was the case and that Saint decided to cut off the 1.3. Now, what he decided to cut off was essentially the two graphs being exactly the fucking same and there being no jump until 1.5 showcase. That's what he decided to cut off from his chart. Oh, how convenient. Information that can clearly showcase no HP increase when Miyabi released, when the Shiyu defenses around Miyabi released, but there's 3+ ultimates and no HP increase. 3+ ultimates. Nobody knows how to read graphs.
He didn't mention how ZZZ and 1.4, they adjusted the ultimates so that all 3 party members could use them at the same time.
Why do you idiots think I started at 1.4? I'm gonna lie through omission and intentionally frame them.
I really thought Katith was gonna destroy him with this one. Even he didn't read the graph correctly enough to just entirely dismantle this man's argument. Tell me, people, you all know how strong Miyabi is. Why in the hell is her patch the same HP pool as the fucking previous patch? Maybe because they didn't increase HP at all, which was a dumb move on the developers. We've showcased how Saint Tone Toss misconstrues evidence, just to serve a point. Because if you were able to see 1.3 on his chart, you would have saw no HP increase. And if you would have saw no HP increase from 1.3 to 1.4, then how could he make the argument that the HP increase from 1.3 to 1.4 was because of the ultimate change?
And there are so many people talking about how,
Oh, he didn't mention how ZZZ and 1.4, they adjusted the ultimates.
why do you think I started the chart at version 1.4, the update when the ultimates were changed? Why do you think I didn't start at version 1.0, but instead I started at 1.4 to account for that? You absolute idiots.
He had to remove it in order to peddle his lie. Good job, it worked. But now what? Granted, not a lot of people are going to see this video. I hope that the few who do, I really hope they turn out to be Wu-Wah fans in some regard. I hope that the few that do learn a thing or two about the information that's presented to you. But this discussion is not about HP directly. It is about ultimates. So moving on from this topic of conversation, don't believe Saint, especially if he's talking about anything other than Wu-Wah. He might just be trying to mislead you actively. Who knows?
I want my community to make fun of them. I'm gonna lie through omission.
So we know now that 1.4's HP pool was exactly the same in 1.4 with 3 ultimates as it was in 1.3 with 1 ultimate. So tell me, with that knowledge, I want you to imagine you're going into Shiyu Defense 7. This is where these numbers are coming from. The HP is exactly the same. You have 3 times more ultimates. What do you think happens to that boss in comparison to 1.3? Yeah, if you have a brain, that boss dies faster every fucking time. That was the case in 1.4. That was 1.4. Things melted. How do I know? I played it. And I didn't just play 1.4. No. I was there from day 1 all the way till. So I could gauge. In fact, I did just that. One of the major videos that I made that never released was a video critiquing the ultimate system and the changes that it brought. Why? Because I was one of the people who was against it. Pre 1.4, I was against ultimate changes. I did not want them changed. I did not want the addition. Adamantly against it. So what was I doing in 1.3 or from the transition from 1.3 to 1.4? I was keeping my eyes on it. I was out for blood, right? Because I knew that I was going to probably be pissed in some regards. I was afraid that they were going to artificially increase difficulty. This was my reason for keeping an eye on the ultimates and disliking the idea of adding them. I was afraid they were going to artificially increase difficulty at the HP when there was no change from 1.3 to 1.4. And I came across the bosses. You know what I said? They fucked up. They did not scale this shit correctly. If you don't believe that I said that during the age of 1.4, lucky me, I still have a little bit of traces of my feelings from back in that time to bring up as concrete evidence of players' feelings on the ultimate system during 1.4. This comment explains why. Hope you enjoyed your return to ZZZ. I play this game due to you, the launch stream, so I blame you for every dollar, blah, blah, blah. But being real, 1.4 brings with it the new Ultimate system. If you felt gameplay or satisfaction of gameplay came across different, the enemies had even less of a turn. Oh no, a fighting game term. Oh no. Throw all these old arguments than they used to. And we will explain what a turn is, which may make combat feel more one-sided than it used to. I pray they change it. I have a feeling game feel may come across unclearly different and the answer may not be easy to pinpoint. I said these things 5 months ago. The game feels more one-sided.
Because Miyabi, a lot of people pulled her, does too much fucking damage. And so that made the endgame modes like Shiyu way too fucking easy. And so players are complaining that it's effortless, takes no time at all, they're getting it done too fast, they want more content.
The ultimate change has changed satisfaction in gameplay. And if that doesn't like click to you, you're like, satisfaction in gameplay, all you guys did was get more damage, right? 3 times more damage? I thought that they did do an adjustment in 1.4. I thought the developers at least added some HP in 1.4 to accommodate for the ultimate change. Turns out they didn't from our examinations, but that exemplifies exactly why game feel changed so much, right? All of a sudden, I got supercharged, right? I went from being 2 humans with a Saiyan on the team going up against maybe a threat of Saiyans to 3 Super Saiyans going up against a threat of other Saiyans who can't go super. That was the like shift in dynamic, right? The amount of power that we got as players was insane. And if you doubt what I'm saying, let me show you. So a big question, what did they actually do instead of just more damage? I've been hinting at it all video, right? That there was more to it. Take a look here. I want you to examine this footage and I want you to tell me what you see when the ultimate comes into play. See that? Maybe some of you saw it. Maybe some of you are like, wait, what just happened? Wasn't on Bringer queuing up a move? Let's see that again. Yeah, you see that right there? See what's happening to Bringer? That's right. That motherfucker is caught in a frying pan. He cannot move when he's getting hit with an ultimate. No one can in this game. Bringer is one of the biggest bosses in this game. Aside from Nivea and Geppetto. But those guys you don't fight very often. Everyone else in the game, aside from those 2 extremely large enemies, when an ultimate activates, they gotta listen. They gotta react, right? They don't get to do anything else except get hit by my motherfucking attack. They don't get to. I make the rules. In a sense, that's how you can feel, right? What it brought was interruption, right? This is something I never even noticed pre 1.4 because you would almost never use your ultimate outside of a stun window. But every single ultimate in this game has interruption properties. Every last one. Which means if the boss is doing some bullshit and you just don't want to fucking deal with it, you just claim it. Just claim the turn. Right? It was his turn to fight. He queued up a move. He was trying to explode the ground. And I said, fuck him. I have an ultimate. I get invulnerability. I get interruption. And I get damage. Yeah, he's starting to see it. It's not just damage. Bringer is a bigger enemy. I'm showcasing you how I bullied a boss. And P.S. There's no Miyabi on the screen. I fucking melted this Bringer. When you have a bunch of ultimates, you don't have to give a fuck what your enemy's doing. At least not while you're holding on to them. If you have the ultimate ready, you have control over the battlefield. Because at any moment in the game, you can interrupt any enemy out of whatever nonsense they're doing and also lock them down. You can lock them down for a moment. There's no attacks that are going to be streamed to you. You get a damage window. And it just happens on repeat. Then you go into a stun animation. Once again, boss can't do shit. And you melt the goddamn guy. You get another ultimate and you melt him down to destruction. Ultimates were let loose. The reins were removed. If niggas had a leash by having one ultimate, the reins were entirely removed. But the ultimates, right? Now you're seeing, it's not just damage, baby. The entire game flow of combat had changed. That's why I said that the opponent got even less of a turn. If this was 1.3 and there was only one ultimate, when I'm hanging out here with Piper and my Yanagi is my DPS and he queues up this big charge move so I know another attack is coming, guess what? I gotta dodge or do something and he still gets his ability to get off that attack, queue up the next attack, or do whatever. I have to react to him. I'm at disadvantage. I need to be defensive. O's release, fuck being defensive. I knock him out of his attack. I don't have to deal with the attack. I deal damage. I get to keep my Piper stacks. Holy shit. It was a lot more than just times 3 the damage that any team can output. It was a lot more. And these aren't even the final things that, like, this isn't even everything that is misrepresented about ultimates. Let's examine some characters. Shall we examine some people's ultimates, people? Let's look at Sokaku's ultimate. Let's track. More ultimates released, you get more damage. We also know, for a fact, that now you get interruptions. There's more. Upon activating this skill, Sokaku enters the mass state. This increases her crit rate by 15% for 5 seconds. Or by 15% for 15 seconds. This crit rate, this extra 15% crit rate window, never existed before 1.4. Nobody would ever use this ultimate in place of Alan's ultimate or anyone else's for that matter that was on the team with Sokaku. So this crit rate buff completely didn't exist. Now it's accessible in 1.4 due to the ultimate changes. This just got opened up. Not only are we now getting damage, not only are we getting new interruption properties, aka removing playability from our enemies, we're now also getting extra damage. Buffs, right? We're not just getting the damage from the attack, we're getting the buffs. We're getting a 15% buff for Sokaku. Also, upon activating this skill, squad member coming in recovers 10 energy. All other squad members recover 10 energy. And the next character coming in recovers an additional 20. 10 for everybody, 30 for the incoming attacker in terms of energy. Never accessible before 1.4. All this energy, all this extra energy that you would get when you pop a Sokaku's ult, you did not get access to. We now get extra energy as well. We get the damage from the ultimate, the interruption, the extra energy, and the buff. Now keep in mind, Sokaku has a passive, a buff that she supplies to her ally. Outside of the energy, outside of the interruption, outside of the damage she's doing, she also has the 3-stack buff. This is a part of her core thing. This, however, was not inaccessible. This is a buff that was not inaccessible, but becomes easier to use and has more windows and more opportunities to use thanks to the ultimate system. And she gives it to that next person coming in. When you pop an ultimate that did not previously exist, you're getting the damage numbers, you're getting the interruption, you're getting the extra energy, and you're ensuring that your buff, which was definitely accessible before 1.3, but not as easily, is going straight into whoever you choose. This is how much shit the ultimate change introduced. This is how much shit. Sokaku is not the only one. This is across the board. Across the board, everybody got the interruption. Across the board, everyone got the damage, right? Those first two. But also across the board, there are so many crazy properties tied to individual characters, tied to classes that previously were not accessible in any way that become accessible, such as, this is a class thing, the 10 to 20, the energy. This is a class related property. Lucy right here. When using this ultimate, everyone on the squad gets 10 energy, incoming person gets 20. This is a class thing. Supports oftentimes with their ultimates were able to give energy out to the rest of the team. You never got that property. You never got extra energy that you wouldn't have access to. That's an extra EX skill that you would not have access to. Extra damage that you did not have access to 1.3. Are you starting to see how opening up the ultimates did a lot more than just giving you the ultimate damage? Instead, it started to increase your EX overall damage that is provided throughout a fight. You got off more EXs. You used more energy. You also got off more parries. Something with the defense class system is that when they use their ultimates, they grant 3 additional assist points outside of Caesar. Fuck you guys. Seth gains 3 additional parry charges. Right? Seth with Jane, you would never see his ultimate. All of a sudden, now in that team, you get 3 additional parries. Where you would run out of parries. And keep in mind, this part is just a defense class related trait that you get 3 parry points. You get a parry point from everybody's. She's even giving you an extra parry point where you normally didn't have one. You get more parries thanks to the ultimate change. This is how many, like in a battle, you get more EXs thanks to the ultimate change. You get more parries. You get more buffs that you previously didn't have access to. It was a lot more than the damage that the ultimate itself did, right? The damage that the attack did. It was a shit ton more. Are you guys starting to see how big of an impact this can play on a game? How huge of one. This is why I said those things in Max's video, and this is why I originally created a video criticizing the ultimate change. I did not like it. Instead of 3 people going up against a boss, we were 3 bosses wailing away on some stupid grunt. That's how big of a change. Giving me more parry, giving me more damage, interruptions, and they were just cycling. Like, we're talking about supports and defenses. Start bringing stun people into the fucking equation. And these people's fucking ultimate dish out crazy stun damage. You are getting to your stun windows, aka your opponent can fight even less windows faster. There's more of them you're gonna see now. There's less of fighting windows when they can attack you because you can just go from 70 to 100 with an ultimate. Guys, the ultimate change was huge. It was actually huge. And guess what? We're all to blame. I'm not technically to blame. As much as I put the thumbnail in the title that I was to blame, technically I'm not. Right? I didn't ask for the ultimate change. But anybody, holy shit, is anybody going to sit here and tell me that somehow Miyabi is more impactful than all the interruption, extra buffs, extra attributes, extra parries, extra energy? You're gonna sit here and tell me that one character's mere existence is more important or more impactful to why they decided to increase HP than all of this? All of this evidence? Are you going to try to somehow explain how all this extra interruption resistance, all these extra buff, all these extra attributes tied to ultimates that normal niggas, we're only surface level right now. We are surface fucking level right now. You want to know what else was inaccessible but became completely available? You thought we were done? No, because you got shit like this. Ultimate damage increases 20%. Launching an ultimate increases the equipper's attack by 15%. This is an ultimate damage buff. You would never fucking see it, right? Because in 1.3, you weren't using her ultimate. You were probably using whoever DPS it was. So you would never run 4-pin. I run 4-pin now, every now and again, depending on how much I'm cycling in ultimates to my arena. That's something that was previously inaccessible. A diss set, right? There's a diss set that had a trait that just quite literally went unused. Therefore, this 4-piece went unused. This 4-piece still goes pretty unused, but even in this 4-piece, launching a chain attack or an ultimate increases all squad members' damage by 15%. Now, would you see this buff actively in play? Of course. When a support did a chain attack, you at least had your mind on the prize in 1.3 that, hey, when my support chain attack comes in, I get this buff. That's my moment. You would never get it through the ultimate, but you would get it through that. So that would change the chain attack flow to your whole gimmick, right? You would typically chain attack with your support first and then go into your other few people, end off with your attacker, deal as much damage as possible. Now you don't go switch to Nicole for her chain attack first. No, what you do is you ult into your chain attack. This way you get this buff on before the chain attack starts, and then you end off with Nicole, getting the maximum value from this. You use the ultimate to start this buff. This way during your chain attacks, it's completely on the entire time. And when she comes back in at the end with her chain attack, she resets it. All of a sudden, this window, it extends, right? It's a longer window now than it used to be and more accessible. Even this sets got a fucking boost due to ultimate. This set's got a boost. Characters got a boost. Interruptions. Special character traits such as Lucy's cheer up that's tied to EX abilities. You get it through her ultimate as well, but you normally would never. Piper keeping her stacks. Ching Yi gaining up meter. There are just so many things that the ultimate gave way to that completely supercharges all characters in the game. Supercharges all of them. Ching Yi now can just build up one stun little bar, and instead of like going a second round of mashing, she just ulties, matches maybe like a millisecond at the end, and she has another full bar. Do it again. Everyone got supercharged. Everyone's damage went up. Damage windows became accessible. So much shit. The ultimate introduced a lot. We're looking at small beings, people. You start looking at Nicole. Like she's a whole nother case, right? Cause you brought her with the buff set. All of a sudden, she's giving out a buff with her ultimate. She's interrupting with her ultimate. She's shredding the enemy's defense with her ultimate. She's also giving you an assist point with her ultimate. She's also... It just doesn't end, right? She's dealing out damage with her ultimate. It doesn't end. How much shit people gain that they just did not have. But it's only there if you see it and exploit it, right? Most players probably didn't even recognize that they were supercharged to this level because they were just having fun. And at the end of the day, that's what the main goal is, right? We're out here to have some fun. I had an issue with all this shit. I saw all this shit early on. I had a major issue with it. The sheer amount of things introduced thanks to the ultimate were ridiculous. And I think that's pretty much very clearly seeable now, right? If you're a woo-wah player or a ult denier, and you see all this and you want to tell me that somehow, if you want to tell me that all the shit that I just presented to you has less effect than a simple one character's existence, you're absolutely insane. Because that footage I showed to you before was not featuring Miyabi. That was 1.4's days. This was not a case of Miyabi increase the HP pool of the game. No, the ultimate systems did, but we asked for this, right? Or at least a larger portion of the community did. I didn't ask for this. But I'm okay with it. I enjoy ultimates now. I was mad back in the day. With the reading that max message in my old videos, I was mad. Nowadays, I don't care. We can get into that another time. I'm just here to explain ultimates themselves and how big of a change they were on the game. And if they don't seem like a big change to you after all that I just said, then I don't know what to tell you except that the only thing you see in life is Miyabi. I want him to explain how all of that is irrelevant, right? I don't need to prove that it's relevant. It's kind of clear that it would impact gameplay and therefore impact how easily or how quickly an enemy died. So I want him to explain to me why that level of impact does not matter and should not in any way be a cause for HP increase. Because by proving that, he proves his point that Miyabi is indeed the cause. By proving that all of the shit that I just presented would not need to be accounted for nor balanced around, he proves that Miyabi is what needs to be accounted for and balanced around. If he can't, which he can't, like you cannot like magic away all that shit that the Ultimate systems brought into this game.
The point that the HP inflation is a direct result to the decibel changes. This response would only justify the HP inflation from version 1.3 to 1.4. You know, the relevant patch that the decibel changes were made in.
Echoing ignorance, right? You guys, if you made it to this part of the video, you already know. Yeah, the people who are crying that Ultimates had no impact and therefore 1.5 or whatever has no bearing or relationship to the Ultimates, or the Ultimates don't play a large part. You already know if you made it to this point, that shit ain't true. That shit ain't never true. If you're telling me all this shit that I just presented should not be, that shit ain't never true. If you're a game developer and you do not increase HP, but introduce all the elements that I just laid out to a game that doesn't have them, if you do not increase HP, the game becomes shit ton easier. Shit tons. Saint framed the shit out of this argument, right? Saint framed the shit. And everybody sees Miyabi. And I guess there's some old history with Acheron and a Honkai Star Rail. They just see Miyabi, he paints and frames it as Miyabi is the Acheron of ZZZ. And therefore she is the cause for HP. Disregarding the fact that Honkai Star Rail didn't have one ultimate and then release 4 the day that Acheron existed. That didn't fucking happen. So how the fuck can you draw that fucking parallel?
You want to know what this is like a 1-to-1 to in another Hoyoverse game? I'll show you. It's the same photo.
You can't, right? You literally cannot say that she's the same, everything lines up the same, because a game-changing, overhauling patch did not drop alongside Acheron that completely overhauled every last character in the roster in terms of what they're able to do against their enemies and how strong they felt. Look, character is strong. She's super strong. She's stronger than everyone else. You have to take that into account because there was a case where somebody else was stronger than everyone else, right? What about the Ultimates? Oh, don't look at the Ultimates. Don't look at these people. None of these people saw any changes whatsoever that made them all fucking super strong. It's just Miyabi, bro. It's just Miyabi, and she's stronger than everyone else. Blinding you guys. Fucking idiots. And then people go force and echo these sentiments, right?
To 1.4. You know, the relevant patch that the decibel changes were made in.
Why do you think I started the chart at version 1.4? The update when the Ultimates were changed.
The only change that would relate to the Ultimates is the change between 1.3 to 1.4. An echo of Saint. But then these motherfuckers don't even know how to read charts to realize there was no change from 1.3 to 1.4. So that whole fucking idea, that whole argument is a goddamn lie and already broken down. Stop being nice to these guys. I don't understand why we humor these guys peddling nonsense, right? Quite literally peddling lies in order to make a game look bad, all right? I don't understand why we're nice to them. To guys who do this to your game, misconstrued information like this, average luck gamer, you might actually watch a video where Saint...
We got more new drive disk sets, as well as the fact we had the decibel changes, so instead of just having one character being able to use an ultimate, we now had 3 characters being able to use an ultimate, which I think is honestly still something that they're balancing for right now, because they're not really sure how high they can push the HP because of the change to the way that decibel system works. And lastly, we did also get more drive disks in 1.6.
Somewhat it says, oh, this guy is somewhat understandable. 20 minutes later, did he gain anything from your video? Did he, like, take in a point and then somewhat adjust his claims so that they sound more accurate and true? No, literally 20 minutes later, he went right back to peddling his lies.
And you still got 30k. Yeah, because the game is balanced around you having Miyabi. I've said it like 300 times. The game is balanced around you having Miyabi and Astro Yao on your account. If you don't have them, go fuck yourself.
20 minutes, bro. He went right back to saying, it is Miyabi's fault, only Miyabi's faults have nothing to do with it. Right back to it. Why be nice to these people? These guys are goddamn idiots who are peddling lies and framing ideas. And it doesn't matter, right? I don't really care if Saint wants to peddle lies. I just don't think you should be nice to him. Let him peddle his lies if he wants to. the truth will be clear. And some people will find it. I hope that this explains a little bit and shines a little bit of a light on exactly what ultimates do in this game. It's a lot more than just dealing out damage. A lot more. With that, we're pretty much at the end of the video. Holy shit, I have other topics, but shit, I'm pretty much done. I'm drained. This should put a nail in the coffin. If you believe that Miyabi is a factor, then yeah, true. Actually, right? If you just believe that she's a factor to all this, then sure, yeah, you're fine. Because I would say she's a factor too. Even with my knowledge of how much shit that the Ultimates introduced and whatever, like there are plenty enough moments where I'm like, damn man, this is a Miyabi challenge, if anything, for me. But then again, I'm gonna count capped at level 50, so I really have to work at it, getting my clears. And if you aren't abusing these things that I mentioned in the Ultimates, that's where you're falling behind. Even the mid-level players started experimenting on how to effectively use their Ultimates, how to effectively use them, and holy shit, did the game become super easy, right? Even in 1.4 days. 1.4 was a disaster, I say as much. But I think the conversation's done. I want to know how he's going to somehow prove to his fan base that none of the shit I presented matters, and that Miyabi somehow still is the problem. If you felt like Miyabi was the whole problem, the whole thing, I would hope at some point you feel something like this. Granted, my lines are often not going to the center. Just readjust it to the center. You get the idea. I would hope that, like, the reality of the Ultimates, that you can see the impact on them now. That's all this video was meant to do. If your view was this was my view on the situation the whole time. The Ultimates were a large factor, if not the largest factor, in the overall HP increase from 1.5 onwards, right? Now 1.4, from 1.5 onwards, since there was no increase in 1.4. If you came in like this, I can see if these two letters are flip-flop and you believe that Miyabi is the majority factor, but you understand all the things that I presented with the Ultimate. Because that's all I wanted. I wanted to present all this stuff with the Ultimates because the Ultimates get talked about a lot. They get mentioned a lot. They don't actually get talked about. They don't get dissected. Nobody showcases all the disc sets, the buffs, the interruptions, all the other shit, the extra class qualities that come with it, the more parries. Nobody shows all that shit. All that shit is ultimate determined, goes out the window, and everyone only talks about Miyabi. So Saint's argument falls apart entirely. With all the stuff that I've explained that ults are capable of, it is clear that there will need to be an accommodation somehow in some way to the HP pool. Anyone who watched this should have come to that conclusion. There needs to be an accommodation. And I think even Saint knew that. But what was Saint's argument? That the accommodation was from 1.3 to 1.4. There was no HP increase from 1.3 to 1.4. So if the accommodation didn't take place there, he needs to somehow, for his argument of Hoshimi Miyabi being the one and only factor, he needs to somehow prove, if he's trying to say that 1.4 to 1.5 is not that accommodation, but instead Miyabi's fault, then he somehow has to prove how all that damage, all those extra attributes to the gameplay should not have been accommodated for. He can no longer use that to peddle the idea that Miyabi is responsible for 1.4 to 1.5 because the Ultimates were accommodated from 1.3 to 1.4. That is his entire basis of his fucking argument. It fucking goes out the window. Have fun. Explain that. Answer that question, and then yeah. It'll be all Miyabi's fault. Congratulations. I've given you, just answer that question and you got in your gold.